What's shaking, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Mr. Scary Muffin. It is not immediately, the day after the BC Pokemon Regionals Procomon. It's Pro Pokemon. And I got Julia with me. How's it going, Jules?
Good.
We got the camera set up so that we're looking at each other. What's up? And I got some of the Top Cut matches that I recorded yesterday, and we'll be going over them today. If my voice is a little bit soft and crackly, please excuse me. I did kind of talk a lot during the weekend. It was a 2-day event, for crying out loud. Anyways, this is a top 16 match. We didn't crash. We're continuing on. Top 16 match. On the left is Lawrence Singh from Surrey, BC, and on the right is Ryan Martindale from Alberta, I believe. Lawrence is playing Ray Eels, which I know Julia loves, and Ryan is playing Klinklang, which I know Julia has a new love for.
I do.
So I thought you would appreciate this match that's going on between the two of them. Anyways, let's get this going. Start. There you go. Let's do a little bit of a volume so you can... Oh, you can't hear it, can you, Julia? You can't hear the volume at all.
Oh, no, I can't. But that's okay.
Alright, I'm doing a very, very soft sound so they can't really see. So Lawrence starts with 2 Tiny Mo's and an N right off the bat. Ryan's starting off with a normal Cobalion up on the front. And normal Cobalion, yeah, I saw a lot of people who were playing Klinger were playing the normal Cobalion in it. You tried out, you had a little bit of an affair with Klinklang. How do you feel about normal Cobalion?
It's okay. It has its uses. But to be honest, whenever I play it, I just don't use it that much. Like, I really just use my other attackers most of the time. But it definitely does have its uses with Energy Press, things like that too. It's not bad. It definitely is nice prize trading with Mewtwo anyways, if you can, get it that far.
Well,
but, because I mean 2 versus 1, but I find that it's
well,
there.
Cobalion has a nice attack. The second attack is 3 energies, does 80 damage, and Iron Breaker has a special effect, which is the opponent's Pokemon cannot attack, cannot attack on their next turn. And a lot of times, when you're running Klinklang, which has that ability that makes all metal immune to EXs, right? Big Basics, they have like maybe 1 or 2 attackers that can actually hit them. So if you Iron Break that attacker, they're not going to be able to hit you. So it makes a big unless they go switch and then switch, right? So it does offer a lot of options. And I know Ryan also runs. He definitely runs N. He just end them again. Welcome to the format. Let's play Ns. Everybody shuffle their deck. But he also runs the energy shift, the shift gear Klinklang that moves the energies around. So there's 2 useful Klinklangs in the format. One that moves your energies around, and then the other one that prevents your metal Pokemon from being damaged by EXs. And it's the new one, the Plasma Storm Klinklang, that everybody's excited for, and that's why we see one here in the top 16.
Yeah. Oh, if you can get both the shift gear and the plasma going, it's a nice feeling. It's kind of like when you have all 3 eel tricks and some nice Rayquaza trading. That's just like, you're just like face rolling at that point. And that's what I find Klinklang is, it's really nice. If you can get them both set up, I mean, which one you're going for depends on your matchup, to be honest. Usually it's Plasma Storm, but not always. It really depends on your matchup. But the thing is, if you can get that started, it just puts your opponent at such a pressure point, right? If they can't get going, the Klinklang's just going to start taking prizes, right?
Well, Lawrence managed to get a lucky paralysis on the Cobalion. Of course, it doesn't make a difference because Cobalion needs at least 2 energies to attack. But Ryan is going to catch up the other Tiny Mo, and that does a few things. It makes it so that Lawrence can't discard the electric for retreat and get a energy in his retreat, but he Ultra Balls anyways, and Ultra Ball forces you to discard 2 cards, so he discards the electric there anyways, which allows the E-Electric to do that little bit of energy acceleration. It's going for the Emolga. Yes, Emolga.
Yes, that's how you do it.
That's I was actually sitting right behind the camera for this match when I was watching it, and Lawrence has come quite a ways. He's been playing this deck for a very long time now, and I think he's gotten very comfortable with it. He understands the ins and outs, and he plays this deck way better than I would ever play it. Being like an eel hater myself, I have never played eels. So there goes a Skyarrow, so he'll be able to get the retreat, and he may need to Dynamotor that electric onto the Emolga if he doesn't already have one in his hand. There. His hand has only 2 cards, so it may be the case. Yeah, there you go. So there's a Dynamotor.
That's called forward planning right there. And his heal's ready if it does get captured, so...
Well, that's just the
a
leftover
nice
energy, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because he runs both the Dynamos. He runs the Spark Dynamo, which does 10 to the active and 10 to 1 on the bench, and then he runs the Thunder Wave one that has a flip for paralysis chance as well. Which one do you like better?
I do like the paralysis one better, but then again, that just might be me a little bit biased from back when, you know, Darkrai was like a big threat to like Eels for a little while there, due to like the 30 damage, right? And then when the 40s came out, everyone's like, oh my goodness, and then it was like flips for a while, which was the Thunder Wave Dynamo and the Raikou for a while. That were just like, that was like the big things, like paralyzing your opponent.
Oh, with
Fliptini.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I run 3-1, so I have 3 of the Thunder Waves and 1 of the Spark, because I find it does have its uses. If you need to, you know, there's something on the bench you're like, you know, especially with the Rayquaza does 120, there are some 130 HPers out there, and sometimes it can help just adding that 10 HP, because every once in a while you're 10 short, and that means a full nother energy, and sometimes that can make the difference between a KO and not, right?
Indeed. So Lawrence uses Call for Family, gets 2 basics out of his deck. He picked up another Dynamo and also got what we call Shiny Rayquaza as opposed to Rayquaza EX or Baby Rayquaza because he's not that big. He's still pretty fat, 120 HP. But the big important thing about Baby Rayquaza is that it's not an EX, which means it can do damage against this Steel deck. And Ryan catchers up with a Golden Catcher, no less, brings up the Eel. And he is going to end again, so both guys are shuffling.
Yeah, I wonder when he brought out the Rayquaza. I wonder if he runs fire here.
Well, I think if he plays a Rayquaza, a Ray Eels, he will have fire, right?
Yeah. Well, no. What I mean is, if he was running, say, for example, the V Blast 15. Is it V Blast? Yeah.
V Create.
V-Create, thank you. I just wanted one of those 2 V ones. But, you know, because then obviously the fire here, it's only 2 energy versus and a full bunch, which he's, you know, 1 away from. Maybe he also has it. Maybe he went for the Rayquaza first so that, you know, he's not losing it if he only runs 1 Victini. He's not losing that right away to an Iron Breaker because that would KO it. But now his opponent is down 2 catchers, so if he did bring it out now, he would have a full bench and 2 regular, like, non-EX attackers as well. So he'd probably be in a better place there, but I do hope he runs one, because I think that would definitely give him an advantage here.
Indeed. Yeah, and I know the answer to your question, but I'm not going to spoil it for you, because I cheated a little bit, because I've watched all these matches that we recorded, because I was the guy behind the camera as well. Ultra Ball by Ryan, he dumps a Cobalion EX.
Is that a rare candy?
And then he rare candied for the Plasma Storm.
Oh, there it is, yeah. Just in the corner.
And then he does the Iron Breaker. Not quite a knockout.
Wish you ran lasers, huh?
Yeah, actually, well, I think Klinklang has just so much stuff, you just can't fit the lasers.
Yeah, I tried. I couldn't do it.
I had a Blastoise deck ready in case I needed to play during this tournament, and I managed to fit 2 or 3 lasers in it, and I was quite happy, but then looking at Mel's list, I realized I was probably missing some stuff anyways.
Go for it. Did you just Ultra Ball?
Or
is that
no, I think he's just looking at stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there was a Skyla on top of it.
He Skyla for the bridge last turn, I think. That was where it's from. So now he's gonna Computer Search.
Yep.
Or did he Skyla for the Computer Search? I don't know. I think he Skyla for the bridge last turn, if I remember correctly. Anyways, he gets another Electric into his discard, as well as a Random Receiver. Do you run Random Receivers in your deck?
I don't. I've been debating it, but I haven't. Then again, I run like 14 supporters, so I don't really need it usually. And if I do, it's already a bad spot for me anyways half the time. And to be honest, when I run a receiver, I have such bad luck. I almost always get like a Skyla when I don't want a Skyla, or I'll get like when I'm looking for an N and I have 4 left and 1 Juniper, I'll get the Juniper every time. So depending on what I'm looking for, I find that I just save the space or something else.
All right, we're going to rewind a bit here. I don't know if you caught what just happened.
Oh, sorry.
Basically, what happened, I'm going to pause it here, is that I was watching this match, and I was actually the judge assigned for this match, and I noticed that the guy did a 3 energy attack on his second turn, and I was like, wait a second, how did he get that third energy on there? So we're going to rewind it back to just make sure that I make the right call here. Make sure that I think he attached the energy, so he's got 1 energy on his Cobalion here, and Lawrence is finishing his call for family here.
Yep.
Alright, so he's about to pass turn over, and yeah, so Cobalion's got 1 energy here, and I think Ryan's going to play an energy N, and then do some other stuff, and then attach another energy and do Iron Breaker, which is, it's been a long day, so it's perfect.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even notice that. Because it looks like they've gotten farther almost.
Right.
Right?
Both players actually play at a very, let's call it a steady pace. They play at an even tempo. And so sometimes it's a little bit deceiving. So there's the energy, and then catches up the eel, and then plays the N. And then later on he'll attach the energy and do 80 to this Pokemon, which is not the correct play. So we're going to skip back forward here to the point where I corrected this. And I did my judge duties for the day, so I think after that I just stopped paying attention. No. You only had 2 turns so far, haven't you? You can't even hear this, but I'm listening to myself yapping. But yeah, it was a relatively easy fix. We returned the energy that he could not attach to his hand, and he can still enter his attack phase. And if he can't use the attack that he called, he's still allowed to pick an attack that he can actually use.
Okay, yeah, when Iron Breaker, energy press would do 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was actually just what it sounds like. Did he bump the table and push the damage off?
Whoops!
Yeah.
Now suddenly I've healed all 40 damage. How did that happen?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, maybe he used the old potion twice.
If only these were new potions. But thankfully, the errata does make all potions, even the old ones that says it only heals 20. Everything heals 30 now, which is nice.
I wonder if judges actually enforce that, because it actually technically says in the rules that you have to provide the real version of it on the side of the deck. So if you're going to use the old potions, you have to have the real thing next to it.
Yes, exactly. Somebody actually called, like when I was in a tournament, was it this? I think it was early last year when we were in Surrey, and I was playing HGS's plus powers. And the plus powers were saying something like you have to attach it to the Pokemon, right?
Okay, yeah.
And they changed that with black and white so that it goes to the discard right away.
Yeah.
And so I was playing it, and then the guy was confused, and so it was one of those situations where I should have had a reference card, because then I could show him. Instead, the judge had to run around somewhere and get one. But the difference is that plus power and potion are erratas. And erratas you don't need a reference card for, because it's like a thing that's done officially by Pokemon, as opposed to just a straight reprint, I suppose.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Alright,
so... such a deep thing.
Alright, so I think he managed to hit a switch there, and he static shocked the Cobalion for 20 damage.
Oh yeah, 20 damage. Oh yeah, because there's 10 from the Spark.
Yeah.
Or the Thunder Wave, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, poor Olga. Maybe an eel. We'll have to see.
Alright, so he's gonna...
Another catcher.
Yeah, that's 3 catchers burned already, and that's actually gonna make a big difference.
Yeah.
This is only his 3rd turn. 3 catchers in 3 turns.
Now if Lawrence does bring out some kind of fire Pokemon, that's gonna hurt.
It's gonna ruin his day for sure.
Yeah. I hope he runs Dowsing Machine at least.
Yeah, actually, I think most Klinklangs I saw that day ran Dowsing Machine. At least Mark Hansen's one ran Dowsing Machine, and he was complaining how 5 catchers was not enough.
Yeah. Very true.
I don't know how I feel about Dowsing Machine, because when the card Junk Arm was in format, right, you discard 2 cards and you get any trainer from your discard pile. It's great. I loved it. But like Dowsing Machine as an A spec, like would you choose that same effect instead of computer search, would it let you get anything from your deck? Would you choose that instead of gold potion, let you do 90? Would you choose that instead of scramble switch, which is like so good?
See, but in Kling Klang, they almost have their own built-in gold potions in Scramble Switch, because all they need is a switch, and their
That's
shift
true.
gear will do that for them, right?
Mm-hmm,
And then they
true.
also have Max Potion because of shift gear, just move it all off, Max Potion, move it all back on, right? And they can do it on whichever Pokemon they want, it doesn't have to be the active.
I suppose. I
Yeah,
suppose
so-
they're more about getting the resource. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
at a certain
That's why
point
it's
in the
kind of
game,
just- yeah, it's kind of just a dowsing machine computer search kind of choice most of the time.
yeah, it depends
that-
on when you want to be doing that search, right? Because at a certain point in the game, do you discard 2 cards to look for something in your deck, or do you discard 2 cards and get something from your discard pile, which
Yeah,
you've already
exactly.
used? And I think one of the reasons why Kling Klangs prefer using dowsing machines is probably because they run 3 rare candies a lot of times.
Yeah.
Do you run
And
3 or
also
4 in
because-
yours?
And in mine there was I don't remember actually. It's been a couple weeks now, and I've taken it apart at this point, so I cannot remember actually. Ah, yes, Victini. There it is. I was
Yeah.
worried when you put down that Ray EX. I was like, ooh, bench space. Gotta be careful.
Yeah, why would he put down the Ray X? But he lets that Ray die, the baby Ray die. And instead he brings up this one instead. I think he benched it, and he was intending to level ball. He had a level ball in his hand at that point, so he wanted to make sure he had a full bench when his Ray died. I don't think he had a
Yeah,
way to get the Ray out.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say, yeah, it's probably more, because the bench would be my guess, but that's thinking ahead, Lawrence. Hopefully that's why you did it.
Alright, so he gets rid of the Cobalion and also removes 3 energies from play, which is really big.
Is that a Durant?
That is such a Durant.
That is a Durant. Yes, this is like the best match ever.
It's like all your favorite cards ever played so far in the format.
I don't know how this happened, but this is just magic happening right over here.
Unfortunately, it's not Devour Durant. It's
know.
the
That's-
it's the pull-out Durant, because Pokemon just chooses such great names for their attacks.
I know. The minute I read that, I'm like, really? That's
So what pull-out
Sure.
Durant is yet another kind of dowsing rod thing. You use the attack, and you get a trainer from your, or is it any card? It's any card from your discard pile,
discard and
and you
put
put
it
on
on
top. Yeah.
So
So
if
that,
you wanted a Juniper or something, usually
that's what Pokemon means when they say pull-out, kids. That's all it means.
you pull something out of your discard and put it on top
That's
of it.
right. I don't know
That's
what
all.
anybody else is thinking.
I have no idea. People are so silly sometimes.
Mhm. So I wonder what he's going to grab, though, with that. He's played 3 ends, 3 catchers. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a catcher. And, oh, actually, he's attacking with Iron Head. Gets 1 heads and 2 heads. If he hits all 3 heads, it's a knockout. It's a Tails!
Oh!
So 60 damage on the 70 HP. Victini is not going to live very long, but if Lawrence has a catcher here, he can get rid of that Kling Klang and be able to hurt things with his rays.
And I think that's what he's going to have to do.
He's going to Eviolite it, and he's just going to kill the Durant, I think.
Does he not have
I guess he doesn't have the catcher. He might be running 3 catchers because his eels his Ray Eels list is pretty tight. It's pretty stuffed. And,
Yeah, no, I know what it can be like playing Rails, especially when you're adding in Victinis and everything.
And it's weird because
Pretty
Ray
good.
Eels tend to have a lot of space. Like the skeleton list gives you about 12 cards of room to fiddle around with, but those 12 cards go away really fast.
Yeah, they do, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you need so much extra support, because one turn without a supporter, and that's it. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you can just have nothing after that. If you get stuck even 1 turn without a supporter, that can change the whole game. So it sounds like a lot, and then it gets less and less the more you have to counter certain matchups, right? So it starts getting tight. Though he does add Eviolite. That's not super common in Ray Eel decks anyways. They usually don't run any tools.
I know why he's running the Eviolite, but yeah. He also Dynamotors onto his eel that had 1 energy before. I think he's planning to attack with it in case of emergencies. So he's gonna Ultra Ball again, and I think he's just gonna get Electric probably and get all 3 down. Yep, there it is. I wonder if he hit that catcher. Everybody's holding their breath right now and wondering.
Did he Dynamotor to that eel? That's what he did, right?
I think he Dynamotor onto that eel. And there you go. He creates for that knockout. And yeah, basically the Kling gets pushed up, and Kling can't do too much damage, but it doesn't even matter. He gets an energy on the Cobalion EX, gets a switch off the Skyla, and it's gonna be able to get the KO even with the Violite. Yeah, so Lawrence was thinking that he might be forced to attack with the Clink, and so it's not. And the Clink, if it does less than 30 damage, then it wouldn't be able to kill the Victini, which is not a bad move. Anyway, so Lawrence is now without a solid attacker, and there's a 180 HP Pokemon staring him in his face. He's gonna double check the Kling Clang. He goes, "Yep, I really cannot attack with my Ray EX. What can I do now?
Really can't, yeah.
I really just can't."
Oh.
And he's gonna level ball.
Do you know if he run? Do you know how many super rods he runs?
I know he runs 2, and I know that Ryan thinks that he runs 1.
Yeah.
Ryan.
2, you have to run 2, especially with only one Victini in there too.
Ryan's
Absolutely
brother Michael Martindale played Lawrence during Swiss, and I believe Michael had the intel that Lawrence only played 1 from that game that they played. But Lawrence actually ran 2, and it's going to play into a factor in how Ryan makes decisions in this game, because I think Ryan feels really comfortable now. There is already 1 Super Rod in Lawrence's discard from an earlier Juniper, and so he feels pretty confident that Lawrence has basically no attackers left except these eels that can only do like 60 damage. Was it 50 or 60? I think it's 50.
It's 50.
Yeah, they can only do 50 damage at a time, so his Cobalion EX is looking really strong, even though it's not fully charged yet.
Hey, 30 damage is 30 damage. It adds up.
Yeah, it does.
It's perfectly 3 times.
Well, I mean, once he gets 3 energies, he's going to do 100, and that would just one-shot the eels. Exactly. And there's not much that Lawrence can do to charge 3 energies on the eel to do 50 damage. But he's going to... So he ended himself down to 4, or back up to 4, I suppose. He had little cards in his hand. I think they're tied in prizes at this point, 4 and 4. Yeah, because Lawrence lost a Baby Ray and a Victini, so that's 2 prizes taken by Ryan. And he's going to Dynamotor onto his Electric, and then here I go! Grand Old 50. Suck it, Kling Clang. Oh, and Ryan's smiling at this moment. He's feeling good. He's got the Switch in hand, probably. Lawrence was probably hoping that he wouldn't have the Switch, because I think we already saw 2, if not 3, already played from Ryan. But definitely, I'm guessing they're going to be running like 4 switches in Kling Clang, just because Kling Clang is so fat. Got to be heavy balled, and just in case of emergency, Ryan gets a second Plasma Kling Clang up. He's not even going to go for his Shift Gear, and he's going to rare candy that up. Either that or his Shift Gear is prized. I actually think it's prized, if I remember correctly. One good end deserves another, so he's going to end them back. Oh, did you go to the provincials tournament?
I did go to provincials. Yes, I went with my brothers.
The purple dice right there in the front we see there is the dice we got for provincials.
I have 3 of them, except when I got home, there was only 2.
How did you get 3 of them? You were only supposed to get 1.
Well, no, I have 3 because I got 1, and each of my brothers got 1. Because my brothers played.
Okay.
One of my brothers actually went 4-3 with Kling Clang. That's why I built it.
How did they enjoy it? Would they play again?
Yeah, oh for sure. It was funny though because they played literally the night before. They had played 2 games with each other, one running Darkrai, one running Kling Clang, and that was it. Then they went into the tournament the next morning.
Jeez, how do you manage to field 3 decks out of your collection?
I didn't really. I had most of the stuff for Kling Clang. I was just missing some stuff. Darkrai, I pretty much all of it, just missing some tech. I was pretty much just missing staples. I wasn't really missing so much Pokemon.
I don't think you had 12 catchers on you handy.
Yeah, right. Well, I had a lot of escape ropes. I think I had 3 catchers and 1 escape rope in Kling Clang or something like that, which ended up actually helping him out a lot, which is pretty cool.
I think actually the Kling Clang here actually runs 4 switches, maybe 1 escape rope. An escape rope is kind of a catcher and a switch all together in one, which is not always super great because you don't always want to switch off. But yeah, so it looks like he does whiff the switch, and he's just charging up And Kling Klang takes a hit here. He's getting a heavy ball on his other Klink. And is that a shift gear Kling Klang? I can't see. Yeah, I think it is. He's going to Skyla for a rare candy.
Or these shiny cards.
No, he's Skyla for a switch. Oh man, talk about shiny cards. Ryan's deck, every single one of his supporters is a full art. So 4 full art ends, 4 full art Skylas, 4 full art whatever else there is full arts of. And
doesn't he realize it makes it so hard to commentate when you can hardly see the cards from the glare?
Alright, does the knockout with the 100 damage attack, and Lauren pushes up the Emolga, living on a prayer. What's he gonna do?
Come on, super out, super out, super out.
It's gonna bench a Raikou. Okay. And Juniper away his hand. There's a Ray in his hand that's gone.
I don't mind that. I don't mind that simply because
the Ray just can't do anything anyways?
Yeah, well no, he needs the Raikou. If he is going to get the super out and stuff and end up getting that Victini back,
yes.
Like he can call for family for it, he needs full bench. But I mean, he could have used that catcher. I mean, I know there's a shift gear, but if nothing else, it forces him to either waste energies on it, putting them on somewhere else, or at least burn a switch or something.
So there's the epic Super Rod. Lawrence had 7 cards left in his deck at that point. Okay. We actually had a deck out during the Swiss. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
You'll be happy as a Durant player. Somebody decked out somebody. Guess who it was. You have to guess.
I have to guess?
You have to guess who did it. It's somebody you know.
Oh man, that's Joseph.
Joseph got decked out.
I was right?
Yeah, adult Joseph got decked out. He was the victim of the deck out.
Wow. Oh, ouch.
The guy who did it to him was BDA.
Oh. BDA decked him out.
It was the slowest match ever. I wasn't watching the whole thing, but basically neither of them managed to get set up, and they were hitting each other but not killing anything. And they were sitting on 6 prizes each still, and Joseph was already down to his last card in this deck. By the end of that, like they just are hitting each other, max potioning, retreating away from poison, so losing all their energy attachments, got to re-attach and start attacking, and people were just, everything was going everywhere, no prizes were taken, and then finally he gets decked out. He just couldn't draw any more cards out of his deck, and lost by deck. I think he actually was ahead by prizes at the end, but it was all for naught because he was way behind in cards left in his deck.
That's too funny.
Yeah, it's really too bad. And Joseph was doing.
Been pretty choked.
He was doing really well at that point. I think he was 4-0, and then he loses to BDA, and he proceeds to end the day at 4-3, which is really too bad.
Yeah.
So he had nothing but losses after that.
Now I don't know why he didn't choose to call for family here, because hasn't he already burnt pretty much all of his catchers at this point? His opponent.
I think he's afraid of Dowsing Machine. Maybe he got the intel.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's pretty much, because that's what I was going to say. I was like, I would have just kind of
I think he's probably got Level Ball in his hand, and, actually he loses a Pokemon, so he needs another Pokemon. But, keeping the Victini alive is probably way more important.
Yeah. But does he have...
He doesn't have that many cards left in his deck either. You look there.
Does he have one Pokemon and Victini, though, right?
Well, his hand's pretty big. He did Juniper last turn. He got 7 new cards, so he's gonna Level Ball. There it is.
And now he's gonna check and find out.
He knows the Victini's there, because he super rotted it from his discard back into his deck. Look at that thing flying. Look at that Victini. Wow! You can't see, but I'm holding it up, holding the hat to the camera. Right. And he drops the Rayquaza down.
All he needs is a fire.
I'm pretty sure he's got the fire. He put 2 fires back into his deck, so he's gonna call risk for 1 billion cards.
9, I think, right?
Yeah, 9 cards.
Colors is so good in Eels once you get past the first couple turns. It's terrible at the beginning.
It's terrible in your opening hand. That's why you don't run more than 2 of them ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I used to run 4. I learned my mistake pretty fast because I was so excited. And I was like, oh yeah, I need to put these in my deck. And then after 3 games at League, I was like, yeah, this is not happening.
I learned my mistake about Cobalion EX not being a Plasma Pokemon one day at League. What do you mean you can't Colress Machine on Cobalion? Oh, Cobalion would have been so good. Alright, so does he have a fire? He's got a Dynamotor attached to fire.
Oh, yeah.
Sky Arrow Bridge getting a lot of use. I know a lot of eel decks tend to run only one back in the old days. Is that
well,
still the case? There's so much Burbank now.
You definitely have to run at least 2 now, just because of, well, both Tropical Beach, but mostly Burbank. Because that's the thing, back when we only ran one, it was pretty much the main stadium of the format, so that's why you only ran one, so that if your opponent played it, you wouldn't be left with dead cards.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and there's nothing worse than having 3 Tropical Beaches in your deck, and your opponent puts down their Tropical Beach, and you can't ever bump it off, and you have 3 cards in your deck that you can never use.
Yeah.
So he top decks the catcher.
Catcher, yeah.
Yeah, and gets the last Cobalion X and grabs that one. Alright, so we're going to cut it off here while they shuffle their stuff and get restarted for the next match. And thanks for joining, guys. We'll see you guys next time for Game 2 of the Top 16. Ciao.